Welcome back. The riddle is a flexible art that easily merges with other forms of literature and can emerge freely as performance on its own. The riddle is a flexible art that easily merges with other forms. You blend the riddles you find in a story, in a narrative, there is a riddle inside. You find in a song, there is a riddle inside. So that is where the riddle becomes a short form, so that it is embedded or it is thrown into other forms of literature, especially the long forms of literature. Now, the riddle offers taste, quality, and splendor. So while it merges with other forms of literature, it produces or it gives that other form of literature a quality or a splendor through its multi-layered use of space, imagery, and style. That you see, like now, metaphor, there is a great use of metaphor as a style in riddling. So why do you use this riddle in your narrative, in your folklore, in your song? It gives that song or that, you call it narrative, the aesthetic value, that splendor, that quality that it is desired. It is through that riddle that has been interfixed in that song or in that narrative that gives that narrative the quality that it deserves, so that you can say it was a very beautiful narrative, it was a very good song. But what is making it good song? It is the riddle that is inside it. What about audience? The audience or the participants are often influenced by texts and contexts to make particular choices of metaphor during an event. So here is where the art of imagination comes in. And even manner of speech. The manner of speech and expression is more important than the content. Manner of speech, how it is expressed, how it is brought out, how it is delivered. Even those who pick from the unintended messages are right in their own right, since the riddle is multifaceted. So you cannot say that you are wrong. No. There are no absolute answers in riddling. Whatever it is, it depends on the context. And then we have certainty. Not many premeditated choices. You cannot premeditate. If it is premeditated, it's just to a lesser extent. You find that the answers are sometimes rejected. Answers rejected in one context may be the preferred answers in another context. Depending, you see the same riddle. The same riddle in the context. Context means situation for which the riddle is being presented. So one answer which has been rejected in this context, which has been rejected in this situation, in this scenario, can be an appropriate answer in another context. Why? Riddling permeates people's everyday socialization, so that, or infuses into people's everyday socialization, so that pinpointing the riddle is quite difficult in many life situations. So that's why we say that a riddle is a very special item in oral literature. Riddles are performances or popular and newly created attitudes that may not necessarily be traditional. So many people shun away. They shy away from riddles because they think that riddles are traditional and we are modern people. But I want you to know that, like Proverbs, vita vya bunduki au vita vya panga haviamriwi na mkwaju. Sema mkwaju au mkwaju? Mkwaju. Haviamriwi na mkwaju. You see, that is literature. That is like a proverb. You see, when you say that vita vya panga, panga is supposed to be a superior weapon when it comes to what? Fighting. Vita vya panga haviamriwi na mkwaju, ama haviamriwi na fimbo. But you see, you want to bring that into the modern life. You say vita vya bunduki haviamriwi na panga. You see, you are bringing it into a modern day life by infusing an item that is a bit more current. Bunduki. Okay? So, riddle is also going into the same trajectory. It is accepting, it is accommodating that which is contemporary. That which is contemporary is that which is modern. Modern day. Both verbal or contradictory. The riddle in the Riddle Act is created by the riddle precedent. Precedent is the one who creates the riddle. And we talked about the antecedent, the audience, and the context of the event. The precedent is the one who creates the riddle, is the one who creates the audience, is the one who creates the context of the event. For example, during marriage, funeral, political events, the discourse features allow riddles to emerge with appropriate register. So he even creates register. That is what we call language. He creates the language. She creates the language. That riddler, that precedent. In our classroom discussions, we normally talk about the poser, posing what? Posing the riddle. That is where we start. But here we are starting with the precedent. Precedent is the originator, is the inventor, the creator of the riddle. Creating also the audience, creating the context, is the mastermind, is the brainchild of the riddle. Depending on the context, that is, for example, marriage, funeral, political events, work, social places, etc., etc. Then it creates the discourse textures, and it creates the register, that language that befits that situation. So, it's mostly those who have gained experience from participating in numerous riddling events with experienced peers and adults that attach much reason and candor to their riddle acts. That how do you appreciate? There is a term in literature that we call appreciate, which means to analyze or critique. Because you've been, these are the terms I'm talking about, used in literature. When somebody tells you, appreciate the poem below, it means analyze the poem below or critique the poem below. Not only poem, you can also appreciate riddle. In other words, you can analyze it or critique the pros and cons of that riddle. Even the language that has been used, the language must be apt. The language must be appropriate language. You know, we talk about register, we talk about diction. Register is appropriateness of language depending on the social context. Social context. If it is in the field and you are playing football We talk about goal kick. We talk about penalty. We talk about foul. All those are terms that are used in the field. That is register. If it is in court, we talk about prosecutor. We talk about defendant. We talk about litigant. We talk about mitigation. We talk about case. The judge is asking the accused, what do you say in the mitigation? In other words, to lessen the sentence. All these terms are diction, yes, you choose, but again, we refer technically, we refer to them as register. So, register is very important. Now, active engagement with the text, audience, and context is key in keeping the riddle alive. Riddles, based on popular context, stand the risk of losing their riddle nature unless emphasis is put on how their verbal and non-verbal features are communicated. The verbal and non-verbal features are being communicated. They have to be communicated in a manner that can sustain the context so that you don't lose the nature of the riddle entirely. The last thing we shall talk about is target group. It's a very important, especially in our exams, target group. For who? For whom is the riddle above suited? Children learning mostly by imitation of their immediate peers. Number two, we have elders who perform riddles that are typically short, commonplace questions and answer forms with evidence of memorizing. We have to stop there. Our next lesson shall be on riddling 2, based on performance. This one is for paper 2, but performance is for paper 1. Watch our videos and ensure that you have the content. Make sure as we post the notes on the Google Classroom, you copy the notes in your exercise books.